Right now, on to the point. $18 billion, the state's new anticipated budget shortfall.
Unfortunately, state spending is also growing commensurately.
Why the deficit is expected to get worse.
I'm Tom Steyer, and I'm running for governor.
Plus, a billionaire joins the crowded list of candidates for governor. With Congress forcing the release of the Epstein files, new questions raised about what the Justice Department might withhold.
It's so cool to go down a place that literally was under reservoir for 100 years.
And a stretch of the Klamath River now reopened to the public. Tonight, a look at the transformation and the work still underway.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and California is facing a major budget deficit next year. The California Legislative Analyst Office is predicting a budget shortfall of almost $18 billion. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is here to explain where most of the money is being spent.
Alex, the Department of Finance says the estimate is not off, and it's something the state has been expecting leading into the next year. The state blames the deficit on a number of things like Trump administration cuts and spending on education, and says this will be a priority for the governor and the legislature in the new year.
The legislative analyst has highlighted a number of the challenges that we and the governor have underscored throughout 2025.
The challenge is a potential $18 billion deficit for the state's budget next year. In a new report, the Legislative Analyst Office predicts the shortfall will be $5 billion larger than Governor Gavin Newsom initially expected. H.D. Palmer with the Department of Finance says there are a number of factors that contribute to this number, like Proposition 98 that guarantees minimum funding for K-12 schools and community colleges. The Trump administration also has cut federal funding over the past year.
Things like record federal uncertainty, things like volatility in the stock markets, things like increasing pressures from cost and caseload in some of the state's major programs, such as Medi-Cal, which provides healthcare services to roughly 1 out of every 3 Californians.
With an increasing deficit, the LAO also adds that the state's revenues have increased because taxes from high-income earners and stock market growth.
From July through October, our revenues are running roughly $6 billion ahead of where we projected we were going to be when the Budget Act was passed.
Revenues will not make up for how much the state is spending.
Unfortunately, state spending is also growing commensurately. But also that doesn't address the long-term structural imbalance between revenues and expenditures of the state.
Republican State Senator Roger Nilo says the focus needs to be on pinpointing what needs to be cut.
We need to take a hard look at programs that were established, particularly in those years when we had surpluses, to assess whether they're accomplishing what was intended to accomplish when they were set up. And also, importantly, their sustainability, because they could be perhaps effective, but maybe we just can't afford the ongoing increases.
Governor Gavin Newsom is expected to present his budget proposal in January and then a revision to the budget in May. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. Well, another Democratic candidate launched their campaign for California governor. His name is Tom Steyer. He's a 68-year-old billionaire who made his fortune as a hedge fund manager. He's a climate change and political activist who even ran for president back in 2020, pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into his own campaign. Steyer is campaigning on affordability, pledging to build 1 million houses by loosening state permitting and zone regulations.
No matter how many great world-leading companies we create in this state, but the majority of people here are still living paycheck to paycheck, are still crushed by the cost of California.
Political strategists on both sides of the aisle agree, despite the jam-packed field, it's still anybody's race, largely because names like Katie Porter, Javier Becerra, and Antonio Villaraigosa carry weight in the political world.
Bring it on.
Most voters don't know who any of these people are. And so that is the opening that Tom Steyer sees today.
Steyer has long ties to state politics, pouring millions into ballot measures, from a hike on the state's tobacco tax to recently with Proposition 50. Now, Steyer joins several other Democrats vying for governor. They include Antonio Villaraigosa, we just mentioned, Betty Yee, Katie Porter, Tony Thurmond, and Javier Becerra. Now, on the Republican side, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and political commentator Steve Hilton are the two leading candidates. Members of Governor Gavin Newsom's administration received letters from the FBI telling them that they've had their electronic communications intercepted. This was for dozens of current and former staff members. It's all in connection to the federal corruption case tied to former Newsom Chief of Staff Dana Williamson and two other alleged co-conspirators. The governor's office says they are aware of the notices, which are required by law and are expected after the conclusion of an investigation. The Jeffrey Epstein files are one step closer to release after months of delay. Just moments ago, President Donald Trump signed the bill into law to release the files. The signing comes a day after the measure passed the House, 427-1, and then unanimously passed the Senate. What's not known is how the Justice Department will release the files. The new law mandates that Attorney General Pam Bondi release all unclassified records tied to Epstein within 30 days. However, she has authority to withhold or redact information that could interfere with a federal investigation.
We'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency.
President Donald Trump denies all wrongdoing and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. The White House said the documents, quote, prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. Still ahead onto the point, the Klamath River is flowing freely once again, and rafters, tribes, and locals are seeing the transformation up close, but not everybody is celebrating. And NASA unveils new images of a rare comet that will soon make its closest approach to Earth.
And tomorrow we're going to have a little bit of rain, especially in the morning hours. But by the time we get in towards Friday and the weekend, we're drying out. We'll likely stay that way towards Thanksgiving. I've got the forecast after the break.
NASA released the latest images of an interstellar comet known as 31 Atlas. The rare comet was first detected on July 1st. It is the third ISO to originate outside of our solar system and pass through it. The interstellar comet was seen zooming past Mars last month. The object will swing within 168 million miles of Earth on December 19th. All right, let's get a look at the forecast with meteorologist Brendan Minchev. Brendan, how are we looking out there?
Yeah, well, rain is on the way in. It's not here just yet, but it will be soon. It was also cooler today than where we were yesterday. Made it to about 58 this afternoon, 64 in Stockton, 62 down in Modesto, 53 in Jackson, 41 in Truckee, and 49 in South Lake Tahoe. Already in the low to mid 50s across the valley as that system starts to swing in to Northern California. So it is going to be cool tonight and a chilly start to the morning. And not just chilly in the morning, but we're going to have some rain chances to go with that. I've got 48 in Sacramento, 50 in Stockton, 50 in Modesto as that storm comes in. Now, the average low is 42, so we are above that normal low, but nonetheless, that is going to be chilly. So make sure you got the rain jacket with you, not just a warm jacket, because it is going to be a wet start to Thursday. Morning rain and then some off and on showers through the afternoon on Thursday, but really drying as the day goes on, particularly in the valley. 57 Sacramento, 57 Stockton, 56 in Modesto, 40s and 50s in the foothills, 39 in Truckee, 38 in South Lake Tahoe. So it's going to be another chilly day with highs only in the 50s. Here's Futurecast, and by the time we get towards 10, 11 o'clock, we're going to start to see showers pushing in towards the Delta and the Upper Valley. But the main band of rain doesn't really come in until we get into the overnight hours. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. We've got some widespread showers across the valley, snow developing up in the high country. Rain continuing through the early morning commute. Between about 7 and 8, though, things are going to start to become a lot more scattered. And then again, just off and on showers in the valley, although we will have some snow all the way through the afternoon in the high country. So as we look at those model rainfall totals, about half an inch or so through the morning hours in the valley, snow level down to about 5,500 feet, and we're talking about 1 to 5 inches. Over the next 10 days here in the valley, it's really just the shower chance on Thursday. Then we're dry in towards the holiday, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, it was the largest dam removal project in the world. Now, after being closed to the public, a stretch of the Klamath River is now open. Coming up, a first look at the newly revealed canyon and the people fighting to restore it. Welcome back in. After more than a century underwater, a stretch of the Klamath River is finally open to the public again, and the transformation is historic. Salmon are returning, riverbanks are healing, and for many locals, the change is breathtaking. But not everyone is convinced the process is perfect. John Bartel has been covering this dam removal project for more than 2 years and takes us down the newly freed river to see how nature and the community are responding.
The best way to protect a place, a wild area, is to get as wide a range of people seeing that area as possible.
For more than a century, this canyon, this riverbank, and these rock formations were off limits to the public, seen only by a handful of people. But today, that's all changed.
It's so cool to go down a place that literally was under reservoir for 100 years.
Momentum River Expeditions is among the very first companies to lead trips down the newly opened stretch of the Klamath River, a section that owner Pete Wallstrom has spent years fighting to restore and open to the public.
It is really important that people have access to this new stretch of river, economically and culturally, and for future projects like this.
Undam the Klamath! Bring the salmon home!
On August 28, 2024, construction crews broke through the last of 4 hydroelectric dams on the Klamath River, which officially made it the largest dam removal project in the world. The dams were aging, inefficient, and had left the river struggling. Taking them down marked a historic moment for tribes, restoring over 400 miles of salmon habitat and reopening more than 2,200 acres of land that had once been a muddy lake bottom.
The river is fiercer. It is alive. It is running faster. It is swifter. The water is clearer and cleaner than I have ever seen it in my whole life.
Growing up in the Yurok tribe, Amy Bowers-Cordalis watched the river grow sick because of the dams and remembered a time when algae-filled waters caused a massive fish kill in the Klamath, which deeply affected her tribe's livelihood.
It was our life force, our lifeblood that united us, and it was sick for a really long time. And we felt that in a very deep way because we are the original stewards of the river. And it is our duty and our responsibility to the river to care for it.
Now an accomplished attorney and conservationist, Amy has spent her life fighting for the removal of the dams. With the river finally flowing free again, she says healing for these waters and the community can finally begin.
Through an Indigenous lens, it means that we are healing the whole ecosystem. So, all the way up to Upper Klamath Lake, to the tributaries that go into Upper Klamath Lake, all the way down to the ocean.
The river is healing, but it's not happening overnight. As you raft down the newly freed section of the Klamath, scars of the dam and the reservoir are still visible.
So it's pretty easy to tell, actually. There's about 2 or 3 feet of dirt that would have been reservoir sediment.
The sediment that Momentum River guide Tyler Poley is talking about is the result of mud and muck that built up behind the dams and now blanket the landscape.
Well, so it's been under a lake for the last over 100 years.
As you float past what was once the lakeside community of Copco, a ghostly forest rises from the water, trees long submerged by dams a century ago. And above the river, abandoned boat docks hang from the hillside, a reminder of where the reservoir once stood and an eyesore adding to the decreased property values since dam removals.
I think it's been difficult and contentious. This is such a big operation and a big project that's changing what's been established here for, like we've been saying, the last 100 years. So there's people on all different sides of this.
I don't really see much for life here today like I did 2 weeks ago when I was here.
And one resident who's not happy with the healing process is Lisa Mott.
How often do you go?
I try to go at least once a month, maybe a couple times a month, just depending on what they're doing.
Since the start of dam removals, Lisa has documented the progress on the Facebook page she started, Klamath River and Dam Removal.
My objective with the page is just to continue documenting, see what's going on, because obviously I don't know if you've been up to like Camp Creek, Jenny Creek, Beaver Creek, and then the footprints. Like what is actually going on right there in those footprints isn't necessarily being told.
It's time to take action.
Lisa isn't the only resident skeptical about the dam removal process. In my previous reporting, many locals have protested, filed lawsuits, and raised concerns about the impacts on wildlife. But their biggest worry centers on water quality and the massive amount of sediment that is now moving downstream from behind the old dams.
You're trying to solve a problem moving the sediment out, but yet you're creating another problem because you basically just moved the dirt and it's going to wash right back into what you're quote unquote restoring. So to me, that doesn't make sense.
I understand some confusion. You see equipment in the water and you think they're not supposed to be there. I would think that too if I didn't know what was going on.
Jenny Walgren's with Resource Environmental Solutions and says she's heard those worries.
What I've heard most recently is folks having a concern about construction and this material specifically going back down into the water. And that's why we're working in the in-water window, which is a dry period, and following it immediately by vegetation to stabilize that soil so it's not a rush of sediment coming.
Walgren says what people were seeing was equipment in the Jenny Creek area, a former salmon spawning habitat that they're trying to rehabilitate by removing debris.
We're moving things out of the water that may impede salmon coming upstream and spawn do exactly what they need to do. We're sculpting different areas to give that floodplain connection.
As of November, most of the heavy equipment has left, and the focus now is on revegetation.
We still think in 20 years it's going to look better. In 50 years it's going to look better. We needed to get to a place where it's healthy, and then we need to get out of the way.
With the dams and diversion pipes now gone, water can flow freely through many areas that were inaccessible, revealing unique geology now visible to anyone with a paddle.
Now it's an amazing place, like with sites like this that you don't see in many other places in this area.
Rafting the Klamath River 1 year after dam removals. I'm John Bartel.
Now, since the dams were removed, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife has observed salmon spawning north of the Oregon border. Biologists note that salmon numbers are still low, but they hope the newly built fish hatchery will help increase the population over the next 12 to 15 years. And don't forget that you can watch John's entire Klamath Dam removal series right now on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Also available on the ABC 10 Plus app is a special half-hour Bartel's Back Road. It is called California Tribes in honor of Native American History Month. The app is completely free to download to your TV. And when we come back, we'll take a look at what we're working on for tomorrow. A construction crew bringing some fun and positivity to a community. Well, some bad news for skiers and snowboarders. Mother Nature had other plans for starting ski season this weekend. Some popular ski resorts have pushed back their opening dates, including Heavenly, North Star, Sugar Bowl, and Mount Rose. Although the recent storm brought some snow, the resorts say that they need just a little bit more to open for the season. Heavenly Resort says that they'll be running the gondola for sightseeing starting this weekend, along with the Ridge Rider coaster. But good news, Boreal Mountain still plans to open this Friday, weather permitting. All right, and a look at what we're working on for tomorrow. Kindness at a construction site recently caught our eye. And tomorrow on To The Point in our Champions of Hope, we are taking you out to East Sacramento, where a little guy named Waldo, yeah, him right here, you remember him? He has been roaming a construction site near Shriners Children's Hospital and UC Davis Medical Center, seeing if patients at both hospitals can spot him. So tomorrow on To The Point, we'll share more on how McCarthy Building Companies is connecting with the community and putting a smile on everyone's face. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think me and the team should be looking into, you can always reach out to us anytime at tothepoint@abc10.com. And don't forget, if you're looking to catch up on any stories or shows that you might have missed, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus app completely for free, straight to your TV or to your phone to catch up on anything you might have missed. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow.